Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new session of current updates. I hope these current update sessions have helped you in many ways, not only answering questions in exams, but also, understanding many intricacies of various portions and also to identify some research topics, maybe for paper presentations and stuff. So today, here with me is Ananya.
Hello everyone.
So, Ananya, what are we doing today?
So today we will be covering some important Australian authors
All
and in
right.
our current updates.
Yes. So let me share my screen first. So yes, I welcome you all again to this new session of current updates on important Australian authors. So as you all have seen that in the current or in the recent NET exam, we got some questions in both the shifts from indigenous Australian authors or some prominent feminist figures or women writers from Australia. Questions were asked from these areas. So, keeping that in mind, we will talk about some very important figures of Australian literature. Right. So, let's move on to our first writer today. Yes.
Anita Hayes. So she is an Aboriginal Australian author, poet, cultural activist, and social commentator. She is an advocate for Indigenous Australian literature and literacy through her writing for adults and children and her membership of boards and committees. Heiss is known as an author, poet, cultural activist, and social commentator. Her work spans nonfiction, historical fiction, commercial women's fiction, poetry, social commentary, and travel articles.
So, Anita Hayes, very, very important writer from Australia. So, now I will tell you some important works. So, let me tell you first some important works of nonfiction by this writer. So, a very important work of nonfiction by her is Am I Black Enough for You? It was published in 2012. Another important work she wrote is Macquarie Pen Anthology of Aboriginal Literature. So, she has also edited a very important anthology of Aboriginal literature. So, that is important. She also has written many novels like Barbed Wire and Cherry Blossoms, Tidas, Paris Dreaming, Manhattan Dreaming, Avoiding Mr. Right, Not Meeting Mr. Right. These are some of the very important novels by Anita Hayes. She's also a very important figure in Australian literature in terms of children's writings. She also has written many works of children's literature. Which are those works? Who Am I? The Diary of Mary Talons, Sydney. Then Yara and Her Deadly Dog, Demon. Then Mr. My Australian Story, Our Race for Reconciliation. These are very famous works of children's literature by her. She has also written poetry collections. A very famous one is I Am Not Racist, but dot 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 it continues. Okay, as editor, she wrote a very important or she edited a very important collection called Growing Up Aboriginal in Australia. It's very, very important. Do look it up. She edited this collection called Growing Up Aboriginal in Australia, published in 2018. So, she's a very important figure of Aboriginal Australian literature. To look up her works of nonfiction, novels, poetry collections, and her edited anthologies as well. Right? Okay, so I hope it's clear. Let's move on to the next writer. Yeah.
Melina Maretta, Australian writer and teacher. Marchetta is best known for as the author of teen novels Looking for Ali Brandy, Saving Francesca, and On the Jericho Road. She has twice been awarded the CBCA Children's Book of the Year Award, Older Readers, in 1993 and 2004. For Jellicoe Road, she won the 2009 Michael L. Prince Award from the American Library Association, recognizing the year's best book for young adults.
Now, I will tell you a bit more specifically about her works. So, her first novel, Looking for Ali Brandy, was released in 1992 with a first print run sellout within 2 months of its release. Published in 16 countries, including 11 translated editions, Looking for Ali Brandy swept the Pulaf Literary Awards for Young Adult Fiction in 1993, including the CBCA Children's Book of the Year Award. Dubbed the most stolen library book, this novel, Looking for Ali Brandy, has sold more than 500,000 copies worldwide and was followed by her film adaptation of the same title, released in 1999. Okay, so she has written many works other than this, but her debut novel was this one, Looking for Ali Brandy, 1992. She also wrote On the Jellicoe Road, then The Gorgon in the Gully, Tell the Truth, Shame the Devil, When the Rosie Met Jim. She also wrote a series of novels called Saving Francesca. It's a series of novels by her, Saving Francesca. Also, the Lumetere Chronicles. That's also a series of novels by her. And one of the most important series of novels by Melina Maretta is What Zola Did. What Zola Did. Okay, please do look up this series of novels because net is trying to probe these authors more and more as the exams are passing by. Please look up these writers, look up this series of novels they have written, because at least just try to remember the titles. They're asking mostly such questions in the form of match the following, right? So please just try to remember the names of these novels they have written. Okay, next.
Nadia Wheatley, Australian writer whose work includes picture books, novels, biography, and history. Perhaps best known for her classic picture book, My Place, which was illustrated by Donna Rowlands. The author's biography of Charmian Clift was described by critic Peter Craven as one of the greatest Australian biographies. Another book by Wheatley is A Banner Bold, a historical novel. While some of the author's books for children and young adults have been honored in the annual awards of the Children's Book Council of Australia in 2014, Nadia was nominated by IBBY Australia for the Hans Christian Andersen Award for Writing, the highest international recognition given to a living author whose complete works have made a lasting contribution to children's literature.
Now, let me tell you a bit more about this particular writer because she is very important. So, Nadia Wheatley's first book, Five Times Dizzy, was acclaimed as Australia's first multicultural book for children. Awarded New South Wales Premier's Literary Awards Special Children's Book Award, it became a television miniseries in 1986. The picture book here in this picture on the screen, you can see her holding this picture book called My Place, right? So the picture book My Place has also been produced as television miniseries. Okay. Whitley also used her background as a historian in the writing of the historical novel The House, that was Eureka, set in the turbulent anti-eviction battles of the Great Depression. While Wheatley was producing these books for children and young adults, she was also researching and writing a biography of the acclaimed Australian author Chairman Clift. Published by HarperCollins, The Life and Myth of Chairman Clift won the Age of the Book Award for non-fiction. So, she has written so many works, all of these including picture books, which were later produced as mini series on television. The illustrations she has done and her contribution towards children's literature in Australia, that's remarkable, right? So if you just look up her works, the picture books and everything, it's phenomenal, the contribution she has already made. So please look up this writer Nadia Wheatley. Next. So before we proceed, I think most of you have already enrolled for this course. So if you haven't already, you can enroll for this 4-day certificate course in posthumanism, which is uh, coordinated by me and Ananya. And here, Professor Ashijit Datta is giving a wonderful series of lectures on this topic. So, if you want to enroll, you can do so from our official website, vallath.in, at just rupees 500. Okay, next.
Libby Gleon, Australian children's author, born in Young, New South Wales. She is one of six children, the sister of former ABC TV Washington correspondent Michael Gleason, and the mother of Home and Away actress Jessica Towey and Sydney Morning Herald journalist Josephine Towey. She has written picture books and young adult fiction.
Yes, so as you can see, our today's session is mostly about the Australian writers, right? And among the Australian writers, we got many children's writers from Australia. So please focus on these children's writers who have contributed immensely towards Australian literature overall. So as you can see here, we're talking about Libby Gleon. She's also a very important name, right? So she has also produced many picture books. For example, One Sunday, then Mum Goes to Works, Where's Mum, Sleep Time, Big Dog. These are some of the very popular picture books produced by Libby Gleon. Next. Yes.
Sophie Mason. She's a French-Australian fantasy and children's author. Her first two novels, one for adults entitled The House in the Rainforest, the second for children called Fire in the Sky, were published in Australia in 1990. Having written 40 books for children, young adults, and adults, she is now published in the UK, United States, Thailand, France, Indonesia, Poland, Turkey, China, Korea, and Germany, as well as Australia. Many of her novels are in the fantasy genre, but she has also written realistic fiction as well as crime, mystery, and romance. She has also had many short stories, essays, articles, and reviews published in books, magazines, newspapers, and internet journals.
So that's all about another very important fantasy and children's author from Australia, Sophie Mason. Please do look up these writers and more. At least try to remember the titles because I think most of you know that such questions mostly come in the form of match the followings, right? Just remember the titles and the writers. That will be enough. Next.
Rosie Scott. Now, she is a novelist, poet, playwright, short story writer, non-fiction writer, editor, and lecturer with dual Australian and New Zealand citizenship. Scott's first published work was a 1984 volume of poetry, Flesh and Blood, followed by the play Say Thank You to the Lady, for which she won the prestigious Bruce Mason Playwriting Award in 1986. In 1988, at the age of 40, Scott published her first novel, Glory Days. It was shortlisted for the New Zealand Book Awards and was published in New Zealand, Australia, Germany, UK, and the US. Scott then published five more novels, a short story collection, and a collection of essays. Scott was active in the Australian writing community in her work for Sydney Pen and the Australian Society of Authors, ASA. Scott served on the board and the executives of the ASA for 10 years, during which time she was elected chair. In 2005, she was appointed to a permanent honorary position on the ASA Council. She served as the vice president of Sydney Pen and was awarded the inaugural Sydney Pen Award in 2006 and also was awarded a lifetime membership of Pen. Scott campaigned extensively on human rights issues in Australia, saying, My writing is fueled by me as a totality, but also by my political feelings. With Tom Keneally, she co-edited an anthology of refugee writing, Another Country, for which she was nominated for the 2004 Human Rights Medal.
Right. So that's quite a big description and many facts and information about another important writer of Australia, that is Rosie Scott. So please try to remember these writers, look them up every day, try to remember the titles of the works they have produced, right? So that's all from our side for tonight. And before we leave you, do consider enrolling for this 4-day certificate course on posthumanism if you haven't enrolled yet. Right. So that's all from our side for tonight. I really hope you guys like the session and enjoy the discussion. So, Ananya, shall we wrap up for tonight?
Yes, good night, everyone.
Yes. So, good night. Take care. And tomorrow also, me and Ananya will come together for a new revision session for December net exam. Right. So, till then.